Okay, so one other thing on this whole Mexico story and world systems theory is the kind of transfer of technology. And one of the things that happened in Mexico after World War II is there was a tremendous rate of population increase, antibiotics, vaccines, and other public health measures became widely used. And so, what Mexico had was a population that was shaped something like this by, say, 1980, where you had very large numbers of young people, 0 to 4 years old. That's male, female on both sides. You can kind of see that. And this is a pyramid of a very rapid growing country, okay? It shows this very youthful, big part of the population is under 20 years old, something like, oh my gosh, 16, I'm doing some math here, 30, 45, 50, 60% of the population. That is a huge percentage of the population being so youthful. They're under 20. And these are all people who are going to enter the labor force. So, guess what? They entered the labor force. And so, what we had was a story of enormous numbers of people entering working ages. In Mexico, that really meant the teens, and especially in the smaller towns where a lot of the growth happened. You were seeing total fertility rates maybe five, which is sort of typical, 4, 5, 6 kids, even more in some settings. And so it had, with combined with all the newly found medical technology brought into Mexico, and a very excellent effort by the Mexican government to diffuse a lot of those technologies out, save lots of lives, but it did mean a very rapid population increase, based mostly in rural areas. So there was a huge movement to cities in Mexico. Um, and again, this technology was largely developed in the science labs in the industrial north, the United States and Europe. So what I want to show you then is what happened. Um, the world systems theory helps us understand a lot of this, but this is also just population geography too. So let's look at this one here. This particular pyramid. Oops, I got the wrong one. This is the one I wanted to show you. Check this one out. This is a YouTube. Don't really need that whole thing exposed. I might just move that a little bit. So this is a YouTube. Let's just watch what happens. You saw the 1980. There it is. Very youthful. And what you're going to see here is that eventually the birth rates start to fall. And when they do, we get to the present, or very close to the present. You'll see a very different shape. Kind of take a mental note of that shape. Watch what happens. So by the time we're into 1990, this is when I was doing my work in Mexico. Now obviously all the age groups are growing, but the pyramid now is at the bottom is starting to level off, isn't it? Yeah, the age cohorts are about the same size. Look at that. So there we are. This is more or less the present. What a different country. Yeah, it's grown in population that you see much bigger numbers here. But you don't have this broadening all the way to the base now. So, in other words, the people are having babies up in here, they're having maybe a few more than themselves. And so the total fertility rate in Mexico right now is 2.3. In fact, in Mexico City, it's about like it is in the United States. A lot of the cities, it's about like here. And so it's not a family, like a country of huge families anymore in the way that it used to be. And so I thought you'd find that very interesting. Let's just go back for fun. Okay, there it is now. And wow, look at that. Very, very different shape. Okay. So that's part of a story. So when you pull this forward, this whole pyramid forward, what we end up seeing is an answer to a question, and that is what is the future of Mexico migration to the United States? And if we come up like say, okay, these are all projections, but if you just get like right about here, that's the present, right? Um, the birth rate's fallen enormously, and it's a bigger country in population now, yes, but as people continue to probably have just more or less their replacement level fertility now in the next decades, they will continue to grow. There will be some pressure for outmigration, but nothing like we saw before. I would say it's pretty likely that the era of mass migration from Mexico has ended. And in fact, if you look at the net flows north and south, that's really already been true for the last 13 years. We'll probably have you look at some numbers a little later on.